In the 90s there was a new genre evolving you might call doom death, spearheaded in the UK by bands like Paradise Lost, My Dying Bride and Cathedral. A young band from Croatia picked up these influences for their own brand of such music. They decided to call themselves after a song from this Cathedral album, Ashes You Leave. Stay tuned and find out more about them. Founded in 1995, they released their first album in 1998, The Passage Back to Life. The lineup consisted of Dunja on flute and female vocals, Gordon on drums, Lara on violin, Damia on guitar and Loris on bass and male vocals. Ashes You Leave had signed a deal with German label Morbid Records, which would last for 4 albums. I was happy to receive this promotional copy for review purposes, and thus I was one of the first to hear it. On The Passage Back to Life, the violin plays a dominant role and thus reminds me more of My Dying Bride than the later albums, where Ashes You Leave would not show their influences so obviously. Still, this is a great album with songs like the title track Thorn the Death Flower or Lay Down Alone. Up to 10 minutes long, the music creates a deep sadness and emotional intensity. The second album followed only 8 months later in March 1999. Opening with an enchanting flute solo, Desperate Existence expands the style of the band. It sounds a bit bigger, with less violin, more metal guitars. It takes a step from doom towards metal while maintaining the overall atmosphere. I dare say it has remained my favorite album of the band, with songs like Never Again Alone in the Dark or Momentary Eclipse of Hope. Still in 1999, the band started to record their third album. The lineup had undergone massive changes. Drummer Gordan was the only founding member left, joined by Dunja on vocals and flute, Berislav on guitar and vocals, Neven on the other guitar, Christian on bass and Marta on violin. When Withered Flowers Begin to Bloom is a song that leans on the doomy style of the early albums, but most of the record moves into a more heavy metal direction, more guitar orientated. When the fourth album Fire was released in 2002, I could do a long interview with guitarist Berislav, so I have some first-hand information. This interview was published in Unbroken Metal magazine number 14. Sadly, Fire is not the strongest album in the Ashes You Leave catalogue. With hindsight, it is a kind of link between the early doom metal albums and the later gothic metal albums of the band. Berislav told me the album was produced for only €1,500, and unfortunately you can hear the poor production, especially in the thin drum sound. The band was struggling with few possibilities to play live in Croatia, but focusing on the foreign market was difficult without the necessary tour budget. Ashes You Leave didn't have priority on their label and left them after this album.
Lost. Black is the world I see, to live or to die makes no difference to me. Morning brings no hope, the day is dead as the night. People are puppets of resignation's magnificent.
2009, with the fifth album Songs of the Lost, the style had drastically changed to mid-tempo gothic metal. Remaining members Marta and Berislav had been joined by new members Tamara on vocals and keyboards, Luka on bass, Insanos on drums and Mattia on guitar. Actually, there were even more lineup changes in between, but I'm trying to keep this short. You can imagine it's much more difficult to keep a lineup of 6 or 7 members together than a band with 4 members. Songs of the Lost was the best produced album so far, released by the new label Sleazy Rider Records in Greece. But I'm afraid that after a 7-year break and this musical turnaround, old fans had been lost or moved towards other bands who had played this style much longer and with more success, such as Tristania and Sirenia, for instance.
It has all been done inside, on the ashes you leave. There are no feelings left on this final eve. It has all been done inside, on the ashes you leave.
9 years ago in 2012, the 6th album was released, and it remained the last one so far. Ashes You Leave had been joined by new singer Jada, who was easily stronger than her predecessor. The band was shining on melodies and production. Technically, this might be their best album. However, after years in the underground circuit, it still didn't mean their breakthrough. Jada has recently become successful with her melodic metal band Frozen Crown. Although Ashes You Leave never split up officially, attempts to make new releases or shows have been rare, so it doesn't look like they're coming back soon. Thanks for watching.